right, welcome back.
Yep.
I don't even know what episode it is.
15.
Okay.
Episode 15.
Hey, we did it. We made it to 15. That's crazy still. And I know I say that every week, but it is crazy because I think we're still getting a lot of people that are listening, new people that are listening, and just thank you to everybody that's continuing to listen because it's crazy. But we are here with Dr. Emily Bullock, who is a close friend of mine. She's a clinical psychologist, a veteran. She's a founder of Great Salt Lake Wellness and Medical. She's here to kind of just talk to us about the intersection of pickleball, mental health, community, the science behind how playing sports is, powerful medicine, I think, as you put it. So
sure is.
Yes. So
thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for
it's going to be an exciting conversation.
Yeah. So an actual professional, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe one day we'll have a professional pickleball player on our pickleball podcast.
Callie Joe, just saying, maybe.
Maybe. All right. So we'll just get into our highs and lows as we usually do. And then we'll have Emily kind of give us a little bit of background on her background, I guess. Mm-hmm. So, Rob, do you want to go first?
Yep.
Yay.
That's my job.
That's your job.
Yeah, we'll start with a high.
Yay.
It'll be 2.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, I know.
Look at you.
So the league that I'm in, it's a round robin men's, and it's set up just a little bit different, and you can only get it's going to be based on your King's Court wins. So as of right now, I'm sitting in first place with 7.
Hell yeah.
And then I got knocked down, but I'm back up on King's Court this week.
Yay.
And the next closest person is sitting at 4.
That's
so
awesome.
I'm killing it.
Hell yeah.
And what's nice is I don't feel obligated to win, right?
Yeah.
I don't feel like I have to.
Right.
Just kind of like the draft league situation. So I'm actually experiencing fun again in pickleball and stuff. So it's fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
Is Clint in that league?
He is not.
Oh.
Nope.
Dang it. I was hoping you would say he was.
No. And then my second one is an old friend of mine reached out to me to join his paranormal investigation team because I was in one, but then with medical issues from the director, she had to take a leave of absence, and it kind of just fell apart.
Okay.
And so as of right now, my other friend who was a part of the group before started a new one, and he asked me to join. So probably going to get back into that.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Wow.
I want to know more about that after all that.
All right.
Yeah. What's crazy given the story I was just telling you about,
Yeah.
which I'll get into later, possibly.
Yeah.
But all right. That's good.
Yeah. And
like
then 2 lows. I still haven't gotten out of the funk of the depression and stuff and feeling lonely and that. And I talked to with my girlfriend about this prior to coming over here, and like we were just talking about why I feel that way. And it's, I crave social interaction, even though I feel like I'm also an introvert to a degree, because like I stated before, how I can sit in a crowded room of people that I know, but still feel isolated and alienated to a degree. And I just moved desks at work to a location where no one talks. So that feels really alienating. So that I think that was just compounding that feeling.
And still a cubicle?
And it's cubicle, which is horrible. 21 years of never being really in a cubicle. And now...
That makes it way more isolating.
Yeah, it sucks. And then I'm sort of envious of you and your friendship group, and like you're always out doing things, and my friends are lame. So
My
anyway,
friends are not lame. Thanks, guys. Thanks to shout out to my friends for not being lame.
Yeah.
But you're always welcome to join us.
but anyway, I don't want to push myself into that friend group that I'm not a part of now. Right. So anyway, so yeah, just been dealing with that. And then so this one happened today. So I called my parents. I try to call them at least once a month. Sometimes I don't, but it's not a big deal. Once a month, yeah. It's not that I don't have a good relationship, because I have an excellent relationship. It's just we just don't talk.
Yeah.
So a little bit of backstory. My sister moved to Utah when I moved here the first time in 2014, and she lived with me. And we were like best friends. I mean, like seriously best friends. It was amazing.
How far apart are you guys in age?
7 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Is she older or younger?
Younger.
Oh, okay.
Younger. And she's always dealt with emotion pretty tough. She had 2 friends that died in a car accident, and then another friend that died a year later, and 2 friends that died here in Ogden.
Jesus.
And so she always took that personally. So she always struggled with her emotions and then some drug abuse and stuff like that. So when I left to North Dakota, she got an apartment with another friend, and he was a meth head, and I think she got into that and then had a psychotic break. And she's with my parents now, and she's doing a lot better than she was.
Oh, good.
She was homeless for over a year, living in her car until I brought her up to North Dakota, and then I had to kick her out because it was just crazy.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
And I didn't know how to handle it. And then she eventually moved in with my parents. My mom came and got her. And the mental disconnect that I feel, because when I called, she answered the phone, and she acted like I was just another person. And that is so heartbreaking, because it really is. Yeah. I lost a best friend, and it's almost like she passed away and I can no longer talk to her because that connection isn't there.
Well, yeah, you have to grieve the loss of a friend,
Yeah.
a relationship you had. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
so
really
that's
hard.
Yeah, it's
Well,
I'm
and
sorry.
that can be more hard than if she actually passed away, because she's still here. So then,
exactly.
like, if she would have died, then you can grieve, and it's like sad because there's no changing things.
Yeah.
But if she's not wanting to like repair the relationship, but she's still around,
Well, I don't even know if she
a lot of
believes
grief.
that I'm her brother
Because she's still kind of in a psychosis.
to a degree. She's
Yeah.
out of it, but she's still not with it to a
Not like
degree.
engaged in reality testing,
Yeah.
100%.
I don't know. It's hard to say. I'm not there, to gauge
Yeah.
it. I'm only, over the phone or like when I go and visit. But it's just not how it was. So
Have you seen her since then? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
And is
and
it
there's-
like that in person?
there's interaction, and we'll reminisce about old stories and stuff, but it's deadpan almost to a degree, or you can feel the separation, right?
Yeah, that's hard.
So, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Anyway,
yeah. I feel very blessed because I have a good relationship with my sister, and I feel like her and I are a lot alike. We have we're different in a lot of ways, but we're really close. And so when I hear stories like that, I'm sorry, it makes me feel good knowing that like we're in a good place, but I just know how quickly things like that can turn. And so it's kind of scary, but I'm sorry.
So that's my lows.
There they are. Da, 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 da. All right. Emily, what about you?
Sure.
Yeah. Are you good to go next?
Well-
good go? Are you good to go?
Good in going next.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
You're up.
So I was thinking initially that my high from this week was going to Oktoberfest yesterday. I love Oktoberfest.
Snowbird or
So snowboard. Yeah, I've been to the Snow Basin one a few times, but I do like the snowbird.
Snowbird's way better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I even went to an Oktoberfest one time in Ohio when I was stationed there for like a year, and that was super fun. But I've lived in Utah now for about 15 years. So that's like my memories of Oktoberfest are primarily in Utah. And I didn't get to go the last 2 years. So I was like trying to make it happen. And every week passed and I didn't go. And now it's the final weekend at both Snowbird and Snow
I'm
Basin.
sad because I've never done
So
it.
I did get to go, and it was so much fun.
Oh, good.
But then I was also thinking, you know what? I actually have a more serious high of the week, and it fits really well with our topic today. So I've been in and out of talk therapy myself for much of my adult life, and I'm a veteran, so I get all my healthcare from the VA. And it's just really hard to get a therapist at the VA. It's like really hard. And so I've actually paid out of pocket to see psychologists over the years, probably for like 8 or 9 years total. I've paid out of pocket. And I just got set up 2 weeks ago with a psychologist at the VA. So we had like our first kind of appointment this week. We had like an intake appointment the week before. And I feel so much relief. I'm so excited. Like
Yay.
it seems like a very, very good fit in terms of our personalities and like
good.
the stuff she's into, like neuroscience and the troubles I've had connecting in therapy in the past. Like she's much different. So just going through all that stuff with her, I'm really, really encouraged. And she said in her clinic, they don't have restrictions on like how long you can be in therapy for, because other clinics they do.
Yep.
And they're like, you went for 12 sessions and you're graduated and you're all better. So like you can't ever come back again. And it's like,
Yeah. Military one source.
okay.
You get 12
So
free.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm just really excited, and I feel a lot of hope
Oh, good.
for the future, because it's been a couple years since I've been really engaged in psychotherapy for myself. So I'm really excited about that. So that's really like a serious
That
high.
is a great high.
Yes.
Actually.
Yeah.
I'm really excited for you.
Yes.
Yay.
So that's where I'll be on Wednesdays.
Curious though. So you're a clinical psychologist
Right.
yourself. So do you go for a different point of view since you already know everything?
Well, just because you know stuff doesn't mean you can implement it.
No, that's
You know
true.
what I mean?
But in a sense, you're going to them just to see a different point of view of how you would analyze it.
Yes, or I'm going because even if I don't learn anything different from her, it's like the reminders and the accountability as well. But also, I have a terrible memory. So like she's even brought some stuff up to like educate me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's fascinating. And then later I like write it down. And then later I'm like, wait a minute. I did learn that in this one book that I read. But it's like I forget, you know? Yeah. So I just have like such a bad memory. So it's really nice. And also therapy is not so much about like the treatment you're doing or like the modality of like what type of treatment. It's all about the relationship and the connection and like the therapeutic relationship.
Okay.
So it's really nice because I can have all this knowledge in my head. I can have like my best friends that are like my therapist, you know, but it's different actually having a clinician because it's a totally different thing. So it's really like,
Yeah. I would say from like my own personal experience, I mean, because I'm really open. I talk to everybody, anybody that will listen. That's why I'm on a podcast,
Just
guys.
anyone.
Just anybody. The guy at the bus stop, the freaking cashier. But going like, so I've told you, like, I feel like you know everything about me in and out. And then Dr. Perovich knows everything about me in and out, but in a different way, I think, because, you know, it's just a different safe space. It's not that you're not a safe space or my sister or my dad aren't safe spaces. It's just a different perspective that you're getting back, a different way that you feel safe in sharing that story. So then I think you're more vulnerable, opening up and accepting the information that's coming back to you. And I think I've said this on the podcast before. My sister was really good about mentioning this, and I think just like being open-minded and understanding her friendships. And so she's like, you know, let's say I'm going through this particular hard time, right? Like, let's say for me, I'm going through my divorce. Well, I could talk to you about it, but then you also know, okay, if I need like a rub on the back, I'm going to go to Emily. But if I need a hard truth, I'm going to go to Rob. Or, you know, so you have these different friends that you go to for different support you need. And I think that is really important to have too. So, but then also like your therapist or your, you know, I think it's just different. It's a different safe space.
And it is different because like you tell me a lot of stuff. And if I were your psychologist, I might engage with you a little bit differently.
Right.
You know, and I know you're like a problem solver and like want to take action and all that. But I think there's benefit to just like
nothing.
just to be like a friend and just to listen.
Yeah.
And Destiny's also really good at saying, like, if I'm talking about a problem, you're good at like asking, like, do you want advice or do you want me to like listen and support or whatever?
I try.
You are good at that.
Thank you.
And so it is just different being you're a psychologist versus like your friend.
Right.
But as a side note, I also feel really good about myself when she tells me about her sessions with her psychologist, because she'll be like, oh my gosh, Dr. Perovich brought this up and this is like exactly what you told me. And I'm like, see, I do know what I'm talking about. Yeah.
My dad feels the same way. So I'll tell him, he's like, well, what did he say?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this. And he's like, I told you. He's like, I could be your psychologist.
Yeah.
He's like, I can't talk about you to you, Dad.
Yeah.
He gets a little offended if he's like, well, what are you talking about in therapy today? I'm like, you.
Yeah.
And what you did to me.
It's your fault.
My dad's great. And he might come up in therapy, because what parent doesn't come up in therapy? But it's funny. He gets a little self-conscious about it. I can tell. He's so cute.
He is cute.
But yeah, I think I'm really excited for you. I think that's really great. So it's going to be good.
And anyway, back to me. I was talking.
Yeah.
So on my low, actually,
This is why we can't do a podcast together.
So my low of the week, we'll talk about this after, but
Okay.
So I have a trip planned to Disneyland with a couple of friends, and Destiny expressed interest in joining. Well, this is related to the government shutdown, but I feel like the responsible thing for me to do is to cancel my trip.
Yeah.
So we will talk about this later, but I just really like realized this on Friday. I'm a business owner and we have like probably a third of our payers come from like government insurances like Medicare and like TRICARE and VA Community Care. And they're still functioning and like paying and everything. But I've noticed last week, like things have slowed down a little bit with our payments. And so Friday, I kind of started freaking out.
Oh,
and
no.
I'm like, okay, if I'm going to be responsible, I'm like a 43-year-old, like I should probably cancel.
Ugh.
So anyway, that's my low
Yeah.
because I have a 10 and a 12-year-old and they will be absolutely devastated.
I was just going to say, do they know about it?
Well,
They know
no.
you're going?
Yeah, they know we're going.
Oh, they
and
don't
we've
know
been
that you
talking
might
about it.
be.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
They've been at their dad's for 5 days. And so I feel like I should probably tell them as soon as possible so they can be really like disappointed at their dad's house. He's really good at helping them like look
Process
on the bright
that.
side.
Oh,
and,
that's
like,
good.
So anyway.
Yeah.
So that's my low.
I'm
of the
sorry.
week. Yeah.
Keep me posted.
Okay, I will.
Because as soon as we were done with this, I was going to start looking
I
at
know.
flights to see if my points would, whatever. I'm fine to not go, to be honest. I was starting to stress about it because I don't have a paycheck because the government shut down. And I don't know when I will. And I was shopping this weekend like I have a paycheck.
Yeah.
I was like, why am I at Dick's buying $85 sweatpants? Because they're super cute. Well, that's a crappy thing, but
So
you can
we'll figure it
reschedule it. We'll reschedule
Yeah,
it.
like I already have the Disneyland tickets for all 3 of us.
Right.
And I can use them
For
I have like a range of time that I can use.
Yeah.
So then we can go like when our paychecks are normal again.
Yeah.
We can go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. All right. So I have a couple of lows and I have a couple of highs. So I did go to St. George this weekend and play in a pickleball tournament. That was a high. I wasn't going to go. There was like a whole series of events that took place that I felt like the universe was telling me not to go. I was messaging you on Thursday morning and I was like, I don't know if I can do this. Maybe can you hang out today? Because I'm like, I don't think I'm going to go. And then it was like 2 hours later, I was like, just kidding. I'm going.
Yeah.
I've woken up. I've gotten a little extra sleep and I can think clearly now. But my dog woke up with Stevie woke up with kennel cough on Wednesday. He had like some stuff going on and I was like, oh, that's like normal Stevie stuff. But then by the end of the day, he was like coughing and I'm like on YouTube looking up what kennel cough sounds like. And I was like, well, he's got kennel cough. Cool. And I was boarding him with a woman that I do up north and she's so great. And she's like, I wish I lived closer. I would just like go back and forth between my house and your house. And, but she had a couple of older dogs and we couldn't risk that because they could get pneumonia.
Yeah.
So I had to bring him with me, which is not a bad thing, but it's not necessarily a good thing because then I just stressed about him. He's so good in the car, so good at the hotel, but then I was like breaking the law by keeping him in the hotel room. I feel like it's not really the law, but the hotel law. But he's so good, and I never got a phone call that was like,
You are
hey.
a rule follower.
Yeah, most of the time. We won't go into that. Most of the time, I am a rule follower, a law follower. I'm a law-abiding citizen at all times. So I was a little stressed about that. But and then the tournament, we had like a 4-hour rain delay on Friday, which sucked. But then we were actually able to play it out, and Bonnie and I played really great, and we had a lot of fun. The tournament was a lot of fun. I'm so glad I went. I actually got back an hour and a half ago, maybe now 2 hours ago. Excuse me. So it was good. The ride was good. The trip was good. I talked to a couple of friends on the way down. I listened to some of our old podcasts so that I could like do clips for social media. So look forward to those guys because I'm have no job right now. So I will be posting probably a little bit more this week than usual. And so then that kind of leads me into my lows. I did, I think I talked last week about how the government was shut down, but I work for an agency where we continue to work for the first 5 days. And so I actually my first official furlough day was Wednesday. So I had to log in I actually was online way longer than I wanted to be. Most of my employees were only online for like 30 minutes just to put their out of office on, look at their letter, let me know they got it, and then closed everything down. But I of course had to monitor that for all of them. So I was online for about 4 hours, starting at 6 a.m., which I am not a morning person. And actually, you guys, I got on at 5:55 and I was already late for a meeting at 5:55 a.m. because a lot of my counterparts are on the East Coast. And so they had a meeting at 5:45 their time. And so if you know anything about Teams, I was like, oh shit. And I log in but it was already over. The meeting was already over, like 9 minutes later. So then everybody that's on this call, it's like all leaders get a Destiny has started the meeting. And I was like, dang it, now everybody knows I was late. But actually, in fact, I'm 2.5 hours early because I don't start until 8:30. Yeah. So I'm a late starter. I start at my start time is at 8:30. Again, rule follower. So don't break any rules. So I usually start at 8:30. So I was on early and then I stayed on until about 10. But so that was kind of and then sure by the time that this goes live, everybody will know because I think it's already in the news, but our agency also issued a lot of RIF notices, which is a reduction in force, essentially separating government employees. So I think it's already in the news. Whatever. Here it is. Coming to you live from Destiny's house in Layton. So I'm glad that I just put out where I live on a freaking podcast.
Edit that one out.
That was Layton, New York, guys. So anyways, so that's interesting. A little scary, very heartbreaking I had some friends that got those notices, like sick to my stomach over that for them. So that was a pretty big low. Another low was about 10 minutes before you guys got here. I noticed this huge fucking zit on my tip of my nose, and it's painful, guys. But it's not a whitehead anymore, so you are welcome. And then that's where we'll end that. So. Back to you, Emily. Would you like to give us a little background on your background, I guess?
Yes. Well, we're going to be talking a lot about mental health today. Yeah. So I am a clinical psychologist, so I have a doctoral degree in psychology. And I've worked in the mental health, behavioral health field for about 25 years. And the end of my doctoral program is a 1-year internship, just like all psychologists have to do. So I actually ended up joining the military, the Air Force, to do my internship year training. So I had to get accepted into the internship program and be accepted to be an officer in the Air Force. Mm-hmm. So I have a lot of my background is in military psychology and trauma and PTSD. So that kind of became my specialty by default, I guess you could say, joining the military. So I was in for about 5.5 years, and then I exited the military 12 years ago. So I've been in Utah now for 15 years.
Yeah, which is right when I met you.
Yeah, so Destiny and I met about 15 years ago because we lived in the same neighborhood. I had moved into the same neighborhood. Mm-hmm. And so because we're so social, we started chatting at the mailbox. Yeah. Yes. And been friends ever since.
Very true. So, yes. Yeah. Instant connection.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So when I got out of the military, I started a private practice so I could continue seeing patients. And I built that practice into a group. So now we've got about 9 other therapists. And then I also bought a medical ketamine clinic.
Oh, nice.
About almost 3 years ago. So we provide talk therapy. We do ketamine infusion. We do ketamine assisted psychotherapy. I also added clinical yoga in that time period. And so I'm a business owner. I feel like that's primarily my job these days is the business owner, but I also still do see patients. Mm-hmm. And then I'm a mom of 2 little kids, so a 10 and a 12-year-old. So that's like a huge part of my life. Mm-hmm. And yeah, being a military veteran is also a huge part of my life too. So it's like a big part of our mission with my businesses is working with military families, the spouses, dependents, active duty, but mostly veterans and kind of retiree spouses is who we work the most with. So,
well, first, thank you for your service.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Yes. I've really admired and been really excited to watch you grow and over the last 15 years and see how you've progressed and business owners and just really proud of you. So,
it's been nice having you as a friend because of like your government service with the Air Force. So it's like Destiny is totally familiar with you always were very familiar with everything that we were dealing with at work and all of that. So it's nice.
Fun stuff.
Yes.
I didn't work for the Air Force.
So you got out as a first lieutenant or 6 year, close to 6 years, no, maybe captain?
Because I came in basically with a doctoral degree, they brought me in as a captain.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm. And then you stayed captain or did you make major?
So I'm a major select. Yes. So
you
you
didn't
would
get
know.
the pin.
You would know what that means. Most people don't, but yeah. And because we didn't know how many months it would take to get, be able to get pinned on. So I just decided to separate.
Yeah.
But it was a huge bummer because my line number was very close to some of my like peers from my internship year. And they ended up getting promoted like a month after I got out. And their line numbers were right next to mine. I was like, damn it. They just stayed in. Not that it matters for anything, but.
So really, just for our listeners that aren't familiar, so major select means that she was essentially selected to promote to major, but you have to wait for your turn when there is a position available, right? And so, and then she would have been put in that, but she decided to separate from the military before.
Right.
Yeah.
I had my first child. And so I was, as an officer, you can sort of re-enlist, I guess you could say. And so my commitment was up, and I could have stayed in without making like signing another commitment, or I could have, they would have deployed me.
Yeah,
or
that's what I was
PCS
going to
me
say.
overseas. And so when I got pregnant, I was like, I can't do it. I admire parents that can deploy with little ones at home, but it just made me like so sick to my stomach to think about that. So.
My mom deployed like 6 months after my sister was born. I don't even know if she was 6 months old, and I don't know how she did it.
Yeah.
And it was well before we had FaceTime or cell phones. Like my dad was like VHS recording us and sending tapes to, my mom, and then my mom would watch them and send letters back or videos back. I don't know how.
So much respect for parents in the military.
Yeah.
That it's such a sacrifice.
Yeah, my best friend's another best friend. I have lots of best friends.
She sure does.
Her husband just deployed last week. So, yeah.
Hello, Ghosts and Goblins. This is the Sheedy Dinker from Casual Dink. Our new collection just dropped, Pickle of Torment. So go out and grab yours now, 25% off all year long. So grab your paddles and hit the court. And remember, stay creepy, my friends.
So interesting.
Yeah.
Let's come back to that after the podcast because I want to tell you something about that. Anyways, so all right. So we'll get into some of the questions that we have for you. So what are the mental health benefits of a community, or I guess like a tribe, as you kind of put it, in like how does pickleball, like something like that. We've talked a lot about the pickleball community, and how does that kind of help your mental health, I guess?
Well, in kind of preparing for what we were going to talk about today, I kind of realized or started grouping things into different categories. And I think there's really like three main categories of why pickleball can be so awesome for mental health. It's like the trifecta of mental health for pickleball. Dun, dun, dun.
Say it again for dramatic effect.
Okay. So the pickleball trifecta, yes, to improve and like maintain mental health and wellness. But community is literally one of those like pillars in the trifecta because it's so incredibly important. So I could talk about this for hours, and there's so many different like components of community. But when we think about like what makes people healthy or what can help increase our longevity so we're not like dying earlier, or what can help to bring us more like satisfaction out of life and like enjoyment out of life. And honestly, like community is such a big one. Loneliness is a huge problem in our society today, and like got increasingly worse during and following COVID.
Yeah. And
so there's really interesting research that has come out that likens loneliness to like the damage or the health effects, negative health effects from loneliness is equivalent to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Jeez. So when we all were born in like the 80s.
Yeah.
And so I remember just learning my whole life about like how terrible smoking is and it's going to kill you and everything. So loneliness is the exact same thing. And so I think a lot of people are shocked to hear that, but it's because having a sense of community and connection is so critically important. And another thing we're going to talk about today is kind of like traditional, I guess, male and female. We'll talk about like male and female genders and like some of the differences between men and women in terms of their mental health or how they like seek support. And so loneliness does tend to be way more of an issue for men. And like, there's another research that shows that like people that are married, like usually the men will say, so this is like in heterosexual relationships, but like the man will say that their wife is their best friend and that they don't really like have other, like, oh, I don't need any other best friends or whatever. But women can list like a few people, you know, that they're, and maybe their husband's their best friend. But so it's really important to really have this sense of like community. And I also studied yoga. I've been very interested in learning more about yogic wisdom and all of those things because of the connection to health and wellness and what we know nowadays from modern, like Western medicine and research. It's very well aligned with yogic wisdom, which was figured out, you know, millennia ago, like tens of thousands of years ago. So one of like the most important things with yogic wisdom in health is to balance your root chakra, it's called. And so the root chakra is all about feeling safety and groundedness, like grounded in who you are, grounded in your life, and having a sense of tribe or community. And so this is something that can literally save people's lives. And nowadays, you know, like Rob, you work in an office where you go to work every day and you have like work friends and stuff, but you guys are very separated in your cubicles. So it can feel lonely being at work, even though you might be in an office of like 100 people or something like that.
Yeah. Yep.
And so pickleball is very unique as a sport, I think. I mean, there are sports that are like this, but you can, I guess you can like play as an individual, but you need another person. Like I guess you can go and practice, you know, like against a wall or something like that. But it is very much like a community sport. And there's different practice times that you can sign up for. There's like the tournaments and the leagues and everything like that. So kind of by default, when you're participating in pickleball, like you are joining a community, especially if you're engaging in the leagues and the tournaments and stuff like that. And so I think it like creates this built-in social structure for people, which can be incredibly beneficial. And I mean, as a psychologist, when I'm working with patients to help them figure out how to improve their mental health, this is like always something that I recommend to people, like exercise for sure. And then community or tribe when people don't have that, or even if people have a significant other or a spouse, that might be their only person that they're really connected to. Right. So their health is suffering and their mental health is suffering. So really to like go outside of yourself and go outside of your home or your relationship to find community is so important. And they even have in different countries, so not in the United States, but in different countries, this is actually a routine thing that they will do in talk therapy is to actually prescribe social connection.
Oh, wow.
So
that's interesting.
Yeah. So most psychologists are not prescribers of medicine, but, you know, I'll give homework assignments to people and things like that. And sometimes I'll even write it down like on a prescription, like here's your prescription, like go do this, you know,
read this book.
But it's actually standard in other countries in psychotherapy to help treat like depression and anxiety to actually, that's part of the prescription, you know, that's a big part of my treatment plans when I help people like come up with a treatment plan of like what's going to help. But the community piece is so important. Yeah.
I will say like kind of going back to that. So when I found pickleball, I was married. I was not, I was in a very lonely marriage and it was, you know, it was suggested that I try to find something that essentially, I mean, this is how it was. You need to find something so I don't have to entertain you. Oh, okay, got it. So then I found pickleball, but it's interesting because we talk about these leagues and these like tournaments and things, but really you go to open play. And as you know, this is kind of how like when you were talking about it, what was coming to mind is like kids, when they go to the playground, it's so easy for them to be like, hey, want to be my friend? Let's swing. And they go back to their parents like, this is my new best friend, Molly, you know? But honestly, like as an adult, that was what was a little scary. And I'm a very social person. And it was a little intimidating to go to Steed Park or Barnes Park during open play and be like, hey, can I play with you guys? Can you be my new friend and play pickleball with me? You know what I mean? But that is like, and then you just like immediately feel like a lot of people, I would say 90% of pickleball players are like very welcoming, come, especially if you're doing open play at the park, like come be a part of our group. Yeah. This is when we're here every night. Like, let me add you to this group me. Yeah. This is if you're not at this level, let me help you find somewhere you can get involved. So yeah, I think it's very interesting. And then I just found this whole community and it was like, it really did help combat that. It was and so I think that's why I just have very passionate about pickleball, is because I was experiencing the exact thing that you mentioned, and was feeling very lonely at home when I'm like right next to someone and in bed with someone, and I'm like feeling more lonely than I would if I'm by myself. Like I live alone now, and I'm like, it's probably all the voices in my head, but I don't feel as lonely anymore. And it's, I think I owe a lot of that to
I can't think of any other sport in reality that a lot of unskilled and skilled people come together.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Because pickleball community are very caring about making sure that the people that aren't that good, in general, because you get those knuckleheads out there, or feel welcome enough to play with and things like that.
Or like the age
even the
gap.
age,
Like
the age gap.
I'm on the court with a 14-year-old, a 12-year-old, a 10-year-old. Well, and then let's not even talk about how they're kicking my ass at pickleball. But you know what I mean? Like you're playing with and against them, and I'm like a very young 39-year-old, very young 39-year-old. So it's just it's very interesting, like all the relationships and dynamics. So maybe that's what I owe. A big thank you to Dave for not wanting to be around me and pushing me into
I
pickleball.
remember that.
Positive way to look at it.
I actually remember when Destiny started pickleball, and I was jealous because I was one of, but it's like I was at that time I was like married with kids and everything, so like we'd have girls' nights and stuff like that, but Destiny became much less available as a friend.
Probably still that way.
But it's such a good thing. And if you were like, if your prescription from therapy was to like go build community or like make a friend or something, if you're just like at the grocery store or at Walmart or something and like you have to like make a friend, that's like the only thing that you have in common with people at Walmart is that you're literally shopping at Walmart.
Yeah, like, you're trying to get a good deal. Yeah.
But if you show up for open play, you actually have like a big thing in common with everyone that's there. Right. Just that you're interested in, and maybe you're just interested and you're there for the very first time. Right. But it's still a commonality that helps people to connect. And that's really the thing about like community and tribe, is that connection piece and that sense of belonging. Just like, I mean, people talk about that in the recovery, like addiction recovery community, of like, you can go to AA or NA and you're like the new person and everybody just wants you to feel welcome. And they're like, oh my gosh, do you have a sponsor? Or like, oh, do you know about this? And so there's certain communities that are very much like that. And like, just like the AA or NA community, the pickleball community has gotten so big that, you know, they've, like Destiny and I have a mutual friend that was a tennis pro and played like college tennis and stuff like that. And so he loves tennis, but it's really hard for him to find anyone that he can play with. You know, there's tennis courts that people play at, but you can't just like drive around in any city and find like 5 tennis courts that you could just like walk onto and instantly like play with people.
Yeah.
Usually people are going to tennis courts with their person they're playing with. Right.
Yeah. And so, I think there's...
And the skill level is way higher, at least the initial into that sport.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Compared to pickleball.
Right.
Okay. So next question, excuse me. So I know you and I have talked about this a little, and then I've talked about it a little bit. I've actually utilized it a little bit in therapy, is the EMDR, but I've heard that EMDR, which is the eye movement desensitization reprocessing, uses eye movements to help people like process trauma, which is what I've been using it for. And it's like this little light, it's like a bar, and you follow, like you hold these little paddles that vibrate in your hand. I don't know if you've heard of this or utilized it in therapy, but my therapist is like a specialist in it. And so it's like this bar, and you follow the light and then these buzzers, and then it'll stop, and then you go into it with a specific situation that you are thinking through. And it kind of...
Okay, I know what this is.
Yeah.
So when I went through therapy in Minot, a guy sat in front of me and he moved his finger.
Same thing.
And then I couldn't handle it. I kept laughing because he kept saying, just let it out. It's okay.
Yeah.
And then he would stop, and then I would have to describe what I'm feeling in that exact moment about that certain thing.
It does. It is,
but
little
it was
wonky.
Just way too weird for me. I just like, this isn't working because I'm just
Rob wasn't
giggling
in touch
and
with his root chakra at the time.
Yeah. It's like it's voodoo shit.
Yeah. Actually, I was going to tell you I bought more crystals this weekend.
Oh,
but
yeah.
anyways, so is there, I've heard and read something about there being like a connection between EMDR and pickleball because you're kind of following the ball to help you kind of process trauma. So what do you know about that?
Absolutely. Well, the person who kind of discovered EMDR and came up with this whole treatment modality, the initial way that she figured it out is that she was like going through a hard time and she was on a walk with somebody and she noticed that she felt a lot better about like after the walk. And she's like, well, was it because I was like with a friend or like, what was it about this walk that like helped me feel better? But when you're walking, you have to do that bilateral, you know, like, because you have to look around and make sure you're not going to trip on anything and like pay attention to the people in your environment and everything like that. So you're constantly scanning when you're walking. And so back when Destiny was planning, when you guys were like talking about doing this podcast before you had started, and she started, of course, like you came up with like 500 ideas and like a spreadsheet and everything. And she was like, I want to do some themes on like pickleball and mental health. And I remember we were talking about this and I'm like, you know what? I want to go look at the research and see if there's any studies that have really looked at pickleball and like the benefits for mental health because of this bilateral processing. And because it made me think like, of course it would be the exact same thing for pickleball.
Yeah.
And so it really is because the benefit that comes from EMDR is being able to think about a difficult situation or a trauma in a different, to be able to think about it. I mean, that's like your logical brain.
Yeah.
But to be able to activate the different parts of your brain, but with both hemispheres. So like the left hemisphere, then the right hemisphere. Because a lot of times with trauma and difficult situations, it's our limbic system that's activated. So that's like our emotion center of the brain. And when the emotion center of the brain is activated, our frontal lobe is not, it's like offline. So our frontal lobe and like executive functioning is our ability to like think through things and process information in a helpful way and set goals and figure out planning and things like that. And so EMDR can help people to process through things in a different way than if you were just sitting here talking about it, or like you talked on a recent podcast episode about how you thought you were like really good at feeling your feelings because you get emotional or whatever it is and you feel things deeply and you're really good at talking about stuff and like expressing through words like what you're experiencing, but you're actually maybe not sitting with the emotion. And so, or there's people, you know, stereotypically men have a more difficult time than women like sitting with emotion or talking about emotion or even admitting if something's been difficult or even like consciously realizing when something's been difficult. So EMDR is really interesting. And there's so many different variations of EMDR. Like some versions of EMDR, you don't even have to say out loud to the clinician what it is that you're focusing on. You don't have to say out loud to the clinician what your experience was in that moment. Yeah. And so it sounds like you did, like your clinician was having you like explain everything. But you actually don't have to do that in order for it to be effective.
I guess I have a question, but don't you have to realize or at least think about that situation during that time? So if you are walking down the path and your eyes are going back and forth, don't you have to be like cognitively thinking about that situation to process through that?
Yes. And so that would...
that would be the tough thing though, right? And even during pickleball,
that's what I was
I doubt
say.
you're thinking about these tough situations while playing pickleball.
I was thinking, I was going to bring up the same question. So it kind of leads me to believe maybe then that's when like drilling, if you were going to try to use pickleball as some sort of like therapy or have it be therapeutic.
Realizing I need to focus on this while playing pickleball to help me process.
Yeah.
And I was actually going to ask
really
you guys if you wanted to be my research participants.
Let's do it.
And I would like go with you guys to the courts, and you guys could even like play each other. But basically I'd be like giving Destiny instruction, like, okay, like,
and I'm just going to be like crying, hitting the ball back to you. Rob's going to be crying.
Yeah. Exactly.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
And we'll name it Dinking Through the Darkness.
There you go.
Love it.
Dun, dun,
and then
dun.
I'll collect all the data about your symptoms over time, and we will prove that not only is pickleball correlated with improvements in mental health functioning, but it's causative. So if anyone else wants to participate in my research study.
All right, don't steal this.
Yeah.
You heard it here first.
Yes.
Right.
I love it. Yeah, that's great. Okay. Well, thanks for explaining that, because I think that that's pretty technical. And unless you have been in therapy or you've been exposed to that or it's been suggested, I think a lot of our listeners probably have no idea what the hell we just talked about for the last 10 minutes. But again, it's EMDR, eye movement, desensitization, and reprocessing. And I think I think I was supposed to send you a paper on something talking about like reprocessing trauma. I still need to do that. Anyways.
Well, and the thing I'll point out too is like, you have a good point. It's going to work the best if you're holding that memory or that experience or that emotion in your mind while you're doing the reprocessing. But the reality is, like with pickleball, a huge benefit of pickleball is you have to get so hyper focused in the moment. So it actually helps you be more mindful, which like mindfulness is the ability to observe and notice what is going on in the present moment without like all the mind wandering. You know what I mean?
Yes, is exactly when Tim was on and we talked about like meditation, and I can't remember what it was. And he's like, oh, so is me drinking a beer and watching football meditation? And I was like, well, no, but I guess what you're saying, it depends on what you're thinking about when you're watching it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, and like what is a meditative activity? Something that is like rhythmic and enduring, where it has like the same components. And so pickleball can be like all of those things. And it can be very soothing to engage in an activity that's very rhythmic, like the sound of like
the ball and the
making
paddle.
contact, the ball with the paddle, and the sound of the ball hitting the ground, and the sound of like the grunts, like
Yeah.
One more time. One more time, Emily.
or like the rhythmic sounds of like the hand slapping, like as you're giving your partner a high five, or you know, whatever. Like that can all be very rhythmic and like incredibly soothing. And so really when you are engaging in pickleball, it can be similar to EMDR, because a lot of times people can come, and I know you're like this, Destiny, like you've talked about this on the podcast, how like your brain goes like a million miles an hour and you're like thinking about so many things. So you probably go into pickleball with like all the worries or the stress on your mind. But then
I don't like having someone on here that knows so much about me.
But then you can like, then all of those different cues suddenly come on board, because now you're seeing the cars in the parking lot of your friends, and you're walking in, and it's like your regular Tuesday night league, and you know who's going to be there. And it's like, it's like, it's scheduled, it's routine.
That's
and it
true.
can be very comforting and soothing.
I will say, like, I usually walk in, I'm a hot fucking mess. I think everybody that's listening that has ever played with me, I'm like running in like 5 minutes late. I've got like 15 bags, fucking Mary Poppins. I'm like pulling out drinks and juice and hurrying. But as soon as I step on the court, it is like a... Like it is crazy.
Yes.
It's so weird. And it's probably just because I'm like, okay, I'm here, I made it. But it is also like the routine. Like okay, I'm here, I'm in my safe space. And so
and
that's
what
good.
you're talking about is a perfect example of behavioral psychology. So in psychology, like the theme or theory of behaviorism is like, what kind of behaviors can we do in life that can help us come closer to health and wellness or move further away. And so we think about like all these different factors in life that can contribute to bringing about some kind of outcome. So I'm a sleep doctor. So I'm like a behavioral sleep expert and work with people like primarily with insomnia. And so this is a big thing when people are having insomnia and sleep problems, is we try to create paired associations or cued associations where the bed equals sleep. So the bed, the pillow equals sleep. So this is like a huge component of it. Like don't do anything in your bed besides sleep, sex, or masturbation. You know, so don't be like on your phone scrolling or like folding your laundry on your bed or like petting your dog on your bed. Like it's behaviorism.
Well, I think we can make an exception for petting your dog on your bed. Okay. Coconut just started sleeping in his kennel, so you shut it.
But so it's the same thing with pickleball.
Yeah.
That like you've done this now so many times a week for so many years that you just like enter that court or like that facility, or like if it's an outdoor court, whatever, like you enter and your body is probably like able to relax or let go at least somewhat.
Yeah.
Because you've created this behavioral response
right.
of associating a lot of positivity and a lot of like physiologic benefits from pickleball.
Yeah.
And the community and like the release of stress and your like frontal lobe and like all of the brain changes that you've experienced and your default mode network going offline.
Right.
Which we can talk about that later if you want. But there's so many benefits so that now just like seeing the building or like walking in to the facility can help like cue that response of just kind of relaxation or like decrease in stress.
And I've actually seen I've seen other people do the same exact thing. Like I've seen other people walk in and they're in a frenzy and then 5 minutes later they're just like themselves. And so it is. Yeah. Yep. It's really awesome. Yeah. Thanks for explaining that. That makes a lot of sense. Okay. So I think, you talked community, exercise. So I guess kind of going back, we talked about, so I know you mentioned like the pillars. So you had community, remind me, exercise, and what was the third one?
Well, so I don't think I actually said what the pillars were in the trifecta.
Oh, okay.
I know we just talked about like community as being like one of them.
Okay.
So community is one of them. And then like mindfulness, I think is a separate category.
Oh, okay.
And there's like a lot of different components of that. And then the third one would be like the physiological benefits or like the effects on the brain.
Okay.
So that come with like the exercise piece with like movement. So the third pillar is like the actual exercise component or movement component.
Right.
But to me, I'm thinking that's just like the stimulus, but rather what happens in the body is like the physiology changing and the chemicals changing in the body and like all of the positive effects.
Because, I mean, when you're playing pickleball, you're exercising, right? So I guess like what does the research say about exercise and mental health and how pickleball is exercise. So to me, there's a correlation of like running or like that runner's high and stuff like that you're getting. But
so in Western medicine, we have a list of like conditions or diagnoses and then what the corresponding treatment would be that is recommended. And it all has to be based on research and literature to be able to determine if a treatment's going to be effective or not. So we call those like evidence-based treatments. So for just talking about depression specifically, exercise is in and of itself its own evidence-based treatment for depression.
Interesting.
Yes. So medications like antidepressants are an evidence-based treatment for depression. Talk therapy and all the different types of talk therapy can be evidence-based treatments for depression. TMS,
which is
transcranial magnetic stimulation. That's getting more and more popular. I was going to say that.
Exactly that.
It's getting more and more popular.
Was that shock therapy?
No, it's... Yep. Yeah. But, well, actually, it's changing the brain's physiology and the connections, the neural connections in the brain. So TMS is one way to do that. Exercise is another way, and community and all the things.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like producing the same type of effects through different treatments. So exercise is its own evidence-based treatment. Like that's how powerful it is. And so, of course, it may not be helpful for every single person. And there really is something to say about people that are in dopamine dysregulation. Like if your dopamine's been dysregulated and then you just start exercising, like it could take a long time to actually start feeling like the benefits from that. Because there are people that have been on an exercise protocol for like 3 months and their depression doesn't get better. And that's usually because of dopamine dysregulation. But for the majority of people, like it is very helpful.
So when you say dopamine dysregulation, what are some things that are dysregulating your dopamine? Like lack of sleep? Like what kind of things are you talking about?
So some people just have kind of lower than normal baseline levels of dopamine. So that can be something, and that, I mean, basically if you have low dopamine, that means depression. And so, but some people, the body wants to be in homeostasis, right? So just like a thermostat, like now we're probably using the heater now, like where we live, because it's getting colder or whatever. So if the heater will not be on if your home is at 72 degrees or whatever, but if it starts getting like hotter in your house, then actually the AC is going to kick on to bring you down to 72. Or if it gets below and now it's at like 65, the heat's going to kick on to bring you back to 72. Okay. So that's like homeostasis. So many, if not most things in the body and systems in the body want to be in homeostasis. And that's in order for us to like be okay and to be healthy. So Everybody has a baseline level of dopamine. Some people are lower, but if you start engaging in behaviors that are going to just like flood you with dopamine in an kind of abnormal way, I guess you could say, because a normal way would be when your kid smiles at you, like that's going to give you a flood of dopamine. When Stevie goes and like fetches the toy and brings it back, like that's going to give you a little burst of dopamine. Like going on a walk is going to give you a burst of dopamine. Eating chocolate is going to bring you that's been proven. Yeah.
By science.
Like sex or having an orgasm.
Right.
Like all of these things are going to naturally boost your dopamine a little bit. And now we can like actually.
Now I know why I'm so low on dopamine.
But sorry. But then there's like the unnatural.
I haven't had chocolate. Yeah. I'm saying,
go get some chocolate. I saw some downstairs.
Oh, gotcha.
But then there's other things. So like our physiology and the way that we are as human beings, we've like been built like this over like millions of years, like millennia, right? So this is like all about survival of the fittest type stuff. So 10,000 years ago, we didn't have smartphones. Like now we can like scroll on our phone or like we can get a ding for text. Like we're getting little dopamine hits. Alcohol is, yes, that's been around for a long time, but that gives us like an unnatural flooding of dopamine. Playing video games, like there's these things that will give us the unnatural flooding of dopamine.
Yeah.
So what happens is, remember homeostasis. So if all of a sudden your brain is getting all this flooding of dopamine, your system is going to be like, oh, like we're getting dopamine, no problem. So we're going to stop producing it.
Oh.
So then your brain's like not producing very much dopamine. So now you're feeling like shit unless you're scrolling on your phone and getting all those hits or you're drinking the alcohol or whatever. So people can get dopamine dysregulation because they're engaging in these behaviors that are kind of unnaturally. Now, I'm not talking about like if you're drinking alcohol like twice a month, that's not going to like dysregulate your dopamine. But oftentimes like we engage in these behaviors like repetitively.
Gotcha.
And so that can really be, it just skews your dopamine.
Gotcha.
That makes sense. Okay. Thank you. Sorry. Okay. So then exercise, I feel like would be a natural though, right?
Yes.
And so then that's
Right. And so some people you're going to get a lot of like aversive side effects from exercise if you're like totally out of shape. Like it's going to hurt. Your like cardiovascular system is being strained and you're not used to it. You're not conditioned. Your muscles aren't conditioned. Your cardiovascular system's not conditioned. So it can be very aversive for people to like start exercising. But people can get that like sense of pleasure from exercise. So this is really like a side note, but I want to mention this because people get very discouraged. Like when they're starting to exercise or exercising more and they're not getting that pleasure and enjoyment, it's usually because of the dopamine dysregulation. And my like advice is like, don't give up and try to like do the things, which that would be a whole different podcast. Well,
it's also not getting gains. Like if you're weightlifting, which is I'm currently doing, if I don't see gains within a month, that's it's like, what the heck is going on?
Yeah.
Why am I
Why
not?
even do this?
But 1 month of weightlifting, like that's a little piece in like a long-term plan of getting more and more benefits and being able to lift heavier and stuff like that.
But I'm seeing gains, so don't worry.
Oh, good.
None of us were worried, Rob.
Yes. And so exercising in and of itself can be very helpful for mental health, like conditions and illnesses, as well as just like your day-to-day mental health. But then if you're pairing it with community and it's like meditative, then it's like, that's why it's like the trifecta, right?
Yeah.
Right.
You're getting like all three components.
Right.
Because there are certain exercise like activities you can engage in that don't bring you any community.
Right.
And so that's why it can be so incredibly helpful.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what I'm missing is I need more community.
Well, yeah.
I need to play pickleball more.
Yeah, I guess so.
That's the answer. More pickleball.
The other thing too about how it can be really healthy, if you're playing outside, then you're going to get the added benefits. Destiny's giving me like
that side eye.
Yeah.
Why the hell would I play outside?
Yeah.
Because then you're not only getting all those benefits, but then you're getting like the vitamin D from the sun, and you're getting like the sunshine in your eyes, which is incredibly helpful, especially like at the beginning of the day, and then with like sunlight,
right?
For circadian rhythms, which is going to help you sleep better, and it's going to help and So there's even more benefits.
Right. Kind of goes back to
outside.
the book that you talked about last
The 3D
week.
effect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. With being outside in nature.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I feel like I get that when I walk from my car to the building. When I take Stevie outside.
Yeah.
I don't know. I joke about that. I do know how important it is to
Yeah.
be outside. I just don't like the outside. I like the inside.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess that kind of brings us to the next question, which you've answered, I feel like, in a couple of different instances with like pickleball just requiring a lot of focus. And so do you think like the mindfulness or the concentration is a kind of a part of that mental health benefit, which
Yes.
I think, is
Yeah.
like, I mean, it's a pillar, right?
Exactly. And you hear, or I've heard athletes talk about this like in interviews and stuff, like getting into flow state. And in cognitive psychology, we learn about this, like what are the different components that can get you into flow state and what is flow state. Have you guys heard of that?
No.
Okay. So it's basically when you're getting like in the groove or like in the rhythm.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
maybe when you first start like warming up,
Right.
you might not really be in the groove or whatever, but like once you're, I don't know
Yeah.
how long it takes you to
Yeah.
kind of get into that. But then you're in more of a flow state, which basically can mean that you're able to like focus on the task at hand a lot better. Your brain is not as distracted from all those extraneous thoughts
Right.
that might have been going through your head beforehand.
Yeah. Running
Where-
late or yeah.
Yes.
I get
and
it.
like time can disappear and you just can get like hyper focused. Like there could be conversations going on or like music and you might go a whole hour and be like, I didn't even notice the music that was playing.
Right.
You know? Someone might be like, oh my God, my favorite song was playing. Like, I love it. And you're like, oh, I didn't even notice.
Yeah.
Because you're in your flow state, like
Right.
in your game.
I feel like that happens for me not at pickleball, but more like when I am lifting. Like I'll forget that I even had
Okay.
music on, or if I'm making sourdough, which I was going to
Yes.
mention earlier, I feel like is like a meditative thing and has
Yes.
been very therapeutic for me.
Mhm.
And I think that's why I choose. I always like joke about this. I'm like, oh, I have like zero fucking chill. I can't just make a loaf of sourdough. I've got to do 500. And realistically 10 to 12 at a time. But it's because it's like that repetitive, like, oh, I'm doing my stretch and folds. Okay, I'm going to go to this bowl and do my stretch and folds. And so it's like a
Yeah.
repetitive thing.
Exactly.
But I will even forget, like I've had like a show on and I've had to start it all over.
Yeah, because you're just not paying attention.
Yeah. So that's very interesting.
That's a very good example of flow state.
Oh, I should tell Dr. Perovich. I've been meditating this whole time.
Didn't even know. Yeah. But when people are in flow state, because they measure all of this stuff, right? Like in neuroscience. So then we know that people's stress levels decrease. And we can tell that by a lot of different like factors that can be tested with like skin conductance and heart rate and blood pressure and things like that. So it's naturally going to help reduce your stress level.
Okay.
And then the other thing, this is what I mentioned earlier about the default mode network. So basically, when the brain is thinking or worrying or like planning 5 steps ahead, or so basically what's happening in your brain, like much of the time, that's thanks to the default mode network. Okay. Like it's what makes us so intelligent. It's one of the things that makes us so intelligent as human beings.
Did you hear it, Rob? I'm
Compared to other animals, mammals, you know, because we have such a big neocortex as humans and we have this frontal lobe. And so the default mode network a lot of times will turn on for people if they're not like actively engaged in a task. That might be for a neurotypical brain, but for people that have like a lot of stress or anxiety or neurodivergent, so like ADHD or like autism, the brain can just work a little bit differently. So you can have your default mode network like working all the time, even when you're trying to do other things. So that's what's distracting people or making mistakes or like difficulty in focusing. So getting into flow state is extremely helpful because it helps that default mode network go offline and then you can just focus. So I work as a doctor in psychedelic medicines. And so this is something that psychedelics are known for in being extremely helpful for people's default mode networks to go offline so that your brain can just do what it needs to do to heal. And so I think it's very beneficial to engage in something like pickleball because then you're giving that default mode network like a break bringing your stress down. So I
Yeah.
think you're probably getting into that same state when you're doing your stretch and folds and like your
Right.
sourdough. Because there might be certain steps where you're thinking about other things or distracted. But for the most part, like a lot of your stuff, you're probably like 100% focused on that.
Right. So I think we could name this episode "Don't Do Drugs, Do Pickleball."
Love it. Yeah.
But also, is ketamine considered a psychedelic?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It is at high enough doses. Some people in medical ketamine treatment don't get into a high enough altered state of consciousness to be able to get that default mode network to go offline.
Oh.
You'll hear people talking about their ketamine treatment and like, I just completely stopped thinking about anything or worrying. And it's like this great reset for the brain. Or other people are like, oh, I was in my ketamine and my brain just kept worrying, or I was still like aware that I'm like in the doctor's office and like my mom's sitting across from me or whatever.
Right.
And so ketamine can, or it may or may not get your default mode network to kind of relax and take a break, depending on the dosage and how your body is processing it.
So I have a friend that does it, and he just goes to a clinic and they give it to him, and then he gets in an Uber and goes home. But your clinic does more of a ketamine assisted therapy, right? So where they give it to you, and then do you also do like talk therapy through the dosing or through the administering of the medicine? Is that
I mean, there's really 3 ways that my clinics will provide ketamine treatment.
Okay.
So I can just say it real quick.
Yeah, sorry. I'm interested,
okay.
and I feel like other people might be, because I know it helps with like PTSD and
depression,
and
yes.
depression.
Was it a natural
anxiety.
chemical?
No,
Or
it's
is
a
it-
synthetic drug. So it's synthesized in the lab. It's not like a plant medicine. There are psychedelics that grow naturally as a plant.
Psilocybin and stuff like
Yes.
that. Yeah.
So ketamine is different, but yeah. So some people will come in and get medicine only. Some people will do full ketamine assisted psychotherapy, which they'll get their prescription for oral ketamine,
Oh, okay.
and then they'll bring it in to their sessions. So that'll be with either a psychologist or a social worker or counselor that's trained in CAP. And well, before you even do a medicine session, we're doing multiple sessions of like information gathering, and then also preparation and like expectation management, a lot of education on ketamine, and then figuring out what the person actually wants to work on, or what are their goals, what are their intentions. Then for the medicine sessions, they bring their medicine in with the therapist, and we actually do 30 minutes of a grounding exercise. So for individual CAP, then we'll lead an exercise specific to that patient of something that's going to be really helpful to them. Or we do group CAP sessions. So I'll lead a grounding exercise that'll be like helpful for the whole group. So a lot of it is breath work and intention setting. So like focusing your mind, and then movement of some kind. So yoga. And then they'll self-administer the medicine and engage in a breathwork protocol that's 20 minutes long, specifically designed for ketamine, like oral ketamine, being like dissolved and absorbed into the body. It helps to increase the bioavailability of the medicine.
Interesting.
So they'll do that for 20 minutes, and then they're kind of laying there quietly. Most people are not talking.
Sorry, Emily.
That's Stevie.
He's trying to get me to play with him.
Oh,
Drives me crazy, guys.
but so in that like hour that we're not engaging in talking, some people are very much in a psychedelic state where the default mode network has gone offline, and then they're having their ketamine experience. Other people are in more of a psycholytic state, which is very relaxed, but still kind of aware of like, yeah, I'm in the doctor's office, but then they can still have meaningful experiences. And then also
So more of like a body high instead of like a euphoric visual.
it's so,
Or is
yeah,
it-
I mean, it's different
it varies,
for everybody.
obviously,
Yeah,
but-
it's different for everybody. But the other difference with CAP is that we will meet with the person after the medicine session for like 1 or 2 days later, something like that. So we can help integrate the experiences that they gained in that ketamine session into their everyday life.
To kind of process what they were feeling and thinking during the
Yes.
session?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, and I forgot to say, like in the 3-hour medicine session, that's like the middle third is when they're kind of laying there quietly. But then the final third of the session, so the last hour, is when we engage in talking.
Okay.
So they will just mindfully note what they experience. So
Okay.
it's not necessarily doing therapy when they're under the influence of the medicine. It could be that if we plan for that, but a lot of times it's them just saying verbally like what they experience, because sometimes we can glean really valuable like lessons out of that. They might not realize it in the moment, but that's what those integration sessions are for, is for them to be able to make those connections and find meaning out of their ketamine experiences.
Yeah, I think I'm happy because my friend feels like this has been really helpful for him, but he just goes to a clinic, they give it to him, he leaves. And so I know I talked to him maybe a year ago and I was like, I feel like in order to get the benefit of this, you need to be you need to know what you want to work through. So if you have social anxiety, you need to be going in there with an intention of working through that, then like what you're experiencing, writing out, like journaling something, because I just feel like unless you are doing some sort of assisted therapy or intention behind why you want or what you are getting this treatment for, how is it supposed to help? Right. Like then I just feel like you're just going there to get high.
I mean, it can be extremely helpful for people just to have the medicine as a standalone. I mean, first of all, it's a medicine. So it's going to do things to the brain and the body to help heal some of those symptoms without even realizing anything or thinking about anything.
So then,
it is
maybe
medicine.
it is doing what he hoped it would.
We have found in not only in the research, but also in clinical practice, since I've been doing this about 4.5 years, is people can get even more benefit out of it if they are having a meaningful experience of like either their mind kind of showing them something or like going back to old difficult memories like traumas, but being able to re-experience them through a different lens with more compassion and kindness. You know, people can have really meaningful experiences from stuff like that, which people can also make those realizations without a therapist at all.
Yeah.
Or without medicine at all sometimes.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
I mean,
and that's why this is like one modality to help people heal.
Right.
There's a lot of modalities that can do the same kind of thing.
Right.
How long has ketamine been around? You said 4.5 years, but it's been
that's how long I've been.
clinical.
Yes. So that's how long I've been.
Because I haven't heard about it until I moved down here in 22.
It is very popular in the Western states.
Okay.
Yeah. There are other states in the U.S., like at the time of this recording in 2025, where you can't find a ketamine clinic for like hundreds of miles. You know? But it is more popular out here. But it was actually developed as a battlefield medication for the Vietnam War. So because it's a dissociative anesthetic, so it's an anesthetic. So it can help people like bring pain levels down, but it doesn't have the negative side effects of like respiratory distress. So if you give somebody propofol, that's going to help with their pain, right? That's used in surgeries, but they're going to need to have their breathing monitored. They might need a breathing tube, things like that.
Yeah.
So ketamine is so safe with your respiratory system that it can be used by a medic out in the field. And it helped to like increase the survival rate because their stress response could go down because of the ketamine so that they could like make it to launch stool Germany to get the surgery or something like that.
Interesting.
So that's what it was developed for. And it's been FDA approved since 1970 as a dissociative anesthetic.
So why isn't that being utilized on bases for airmen or for military members?
For pain?
Well, no, just for the psychological part of it, or is that more or less a newer version of ketamine usage?
So
that is still under clinical study in a sense, right? It's
sorry, I don't know if you wanted to get
I mean, I love talking about this stuff. So
maybe our listeners don't really give a shit.
Well, and what I can say about this is whenever the FDA approves a medication or the FDA gives an off-label indication for a medicine that's already existing, there's a lot of things that have to happen. So like the FDA doing that and designating that can be like the first step, but then it can take years for insurance to get on board to start paying for it. It can take years for the word to get out to people. And the military and the VA system is very good at engaging in like research studies. And so like MDMA specifically, over the last couple of years, there's been a lot of research going on, and it even like came forward to the FDA. And so there were certain VAs that participated in those research studies. There's other, modalities for PTSD that the VA and active duty clinics have participated in order to get studies published to gain more evidence to be able to get the FDA indication. Mm-hmm. So now TRICARE is paying for a version of ketamine called Spravato. And that is actually the medication that has the FDA indication.
Gotcha.
They have to change it a little bit in order to have like a second FDA indication. Oh my goodness.
He's doing zoomies. Sorry, guys.
So active duty members can get approved for ketamine treatment. Of course, it has to go through the MTF. Like active duty has to be monitored closely because of profiles and deployability and fitness for duty and all of that.
PRP and that kind of stuff.
Right. So I don't know. I just don't know that there might be MTFs that are utilizing it like in-house for active duty. I don't know the answer.
It just seems beneficial.
Yeah.
MTF is military training facility?
Yes. Okay. Or no, medical training.
Medical.
Treatment facility. Yeah. So the MTF is like the medical clinic that people go to. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, because I have worked with a couple active duty people, I've worked with their providers on base to be able to get them approved to engage in Spravato treatment. TRICARE's already paying for it, but they have to get approved to do it. Mm-hmm. Because then they're on a profile for a certain amount of time and the base wants to like monitor them.
Right.
So, because it's a community-based treatment, at least here in our state.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. Thanks. Sorry, we kind of went off on a little tangent there. I know before we get into we had a couple of questions that I think you wanted some clarity on, like men and women. Do you want to?
Yeah. So I'm assuming you've had both male and female clients. How do you go? What was the question? Do you handle men and women differently when it comes to whatever they're looking for, right? Would it be cognitive behavioral therapy works better on males and something else might work better on females?
Yes. Well, the way that
I know it's all situational.
It is, yeah. And the way that I approach treatment with people, no matter because someone could be a particular gender and have totally different, their brain might work totally different than another male, or someone that, was born and raised in China. Like we can't make certain assumptions about them. So the way that I approach treatment is doing like a comprehensive intake assessment to ask a lot of questions about people's background, but also asking a lot of questions about like their community and not only what their symptoms are, but also kind of what goes on in their brain and what types of things are helpful for them and not helpful for them. And so then I can recommend either a certain type of therapy, so a certain modality, and collaboratively like come up with what the treatment plan is going to be. So I wouldn't say that if a man is sitting in my office, I'm going to do it one way. And if a woman's sitting in my office, I'm going to do it another way.
Yeah, I guess that was kind of a shitty question.
I think it's a good question. And when you think about it, I mean, I don't know how accurate this is, but I think it was like the CDC that did a study on like who is in talk therapy. And 30%, this was a couple of years ago, like 30% are male.
And that's what my next question was going to be, if you see more females coming to therapy than males. And is that based on societal stigmas that men don't really need therapy?
Yes.
Not necessarily we don't need it. Of course we need it. Yeah. But the social stigma of men, need to be tough and hardened and things like that. And the social pressures of males within our own group of, how we kind of chastise each other if we're feeling down or something like that. So I'm assuming some guys that, I'm talking about mental health are like, what a...
No. Yeah, I get what you're saying. I said, so to go along with that, I would also like remind our listeners, like your concentration is more PTSD, trauma, therapy. You've already mentioned that you kind of work a lot with military families. So your percentage of men versus women patients might be a lot different than like your everyday talk therapist too.
PTSD is a broad spectrum, correct?
Yes.
Because when I first heard about PTSD, obviously I thought about shell shock,
Yeah.
you know, and stuff like that, which was World War II, PTSD from battle.
Right.
Yep.
But no, PTSD goes into everyday life stuff.
Yeah, I've been diagnosed with PTSD from something that had nothing to do with my time in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
And so I know exactly what you're talking about. I think just because your relation with being prior military and kind of bringing some clients into your clinics from the military, taking TRICARE and things like that, I wonder if your percentages might be a little different.
I mean, if you were to ask me this when I was an active duty psychologist on base, the majority of my patients were men.
Yeah.
But that's also because we only saw active duty, and the percentage of male versus female active duty members is like much higher.
Right.
Male. And the career fields that were having the most like mental health difficulties at our base.
Ooh, let me guess. EOD?
Yeah.
Top number one, I bet.
Yeah, EOD, and then AF or AMX. Now it's been too long. Aircraft mechanics.
Oh, AMXG.
AMXS. AMXS.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's because like their leadership wasn't that great. And like it's extremely stressful, like the career field. And
SECFO too. Security forces.
Yes.
Usually they're very toxic leadership.
Yeah.
They eat their own like crazy.
Yeah.
It's
and
nuts.
so, those career fields are going to be a higher proportion of men versus women. And so, my percentages were super skewed when I was active duty military in terms of who I was seeing. But the stigma that you're talking about is very real. Like it's alive and well. And this was like one of my big missions when I was here active duty, was to work on kind of the mission of helping to decrease the stigma of talking about mental health and decreasing the stigma of seeking mental health treatment. And so I actually was embedded in both of those units that I just mentioned. So people could see like, oh, she's a psychologist and she's actually kind of like not that bad, or like she's normal, or like I would hang out with like an AMXS. They work in like 3-man teams. So I would go and I'd hang out with just like one team. Yeah. For their I'd only be there for like 2 hours or whatever. But so then we're like chit chatting as they're working and talking about sleep or depression or whatever. So to try to help decrease the stigma. And it's much better now. Like I've been in the field for 25 years. So it's much better now than it was 25 years ago. And it's
100%.
much better than it was 60 years ago. But there's still a lot of stigma. And it depends also on like who you're talking to. In the like special forces veteran community, there is a lot of talk about psychedelic treatments for healing. There's a lot of
microdosing
money.
And stuff like that.
Yeah. And there's a lot of funding available from nonprofits and grants to go for special forces kind of veterans to be able to get these treatments. And so in those kind of communities, the stigma I think has come down from where it was like 22 years ago at the beginning of like OIF and OEF. So like the war in Iraq and Afghanistan. Yeah. Like it's much different now.
Enduring Freedom.
Yes. Thank you, Destiny.
I know acronyms.
Yes. And so like much better now than it was before. And there's just more education and awareness into PTSD and depression.
That stigma's still there. I mean, even in my career field when I was active duty, Zatuma, X2, ICBMs, we're on PRP, right? And that's personal reliability program. We can't even take, we can now, like NyQuil and stuff. Okay. But you never used to be able to self-medicate for colds and stuff like that without getting checked out and approved first. But the idea of you going down off PRP for mental stuff, or even an injury, like I hurt my elbow or my knee, you're automatically shunned and like, oh, you're not out in the field working your ass off, screw you. Right.
It's very it's very serious for like PRP career fields and also like for flight status for like pilots.
Exactly.
Right. Yep. But aside from like your career field, why do you think there's still a stigma around men? I feel like it's like men in their 40s, like and older. Like, why do you feel like there's still a stigma around therapy, or at least talk therapy? I feel like is like a big one. Like,
well, I guess thinking back to just in general, why is there a stigma for men? Like men are socialized to stuff emotions down. Men are socialized to be like the protector and the provider, and like you shouldn't have any problem. And so we're talking about heteronormative like relationships and stuff, but like the man needs to be like the man needs to have his shit together. So like the woman can like feel safe or whatever. So there are a lot of these ways that men and women are socialized by their families, by the school system, by their communities, by their religions and things like that, where it might be more acceptable for a woman, like a girl, to cry or be scared versus a boy to cry or be scared.
Yep.
And so, I mean, there's exceptions, like you talked about your mom,
Right.
you know, that would be like, no crying.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah, it's the expectation to lead. We're supposed to be leaders
Right.
in a modernized world.
Yeah. So when you think about your brain having a certain expectation and learning to do a certain thing for decades, this is a very well ingrained habit or belief that people have in their minds. So what does it take to be able to change a belief system or change habitual behavior or ways of thinking about things? Like it can take a lot to be able to change that stuff over time. So a psychologist coming and hanging out in your work section like once a week
isn't going to change that overnight.
I mean, it might like a little bit, but it can take a lot. And there can be men that will come to therapy because there are people encouraging them to do it. So like maybe their wives or their girlfriends, you know, or they might go like we've had some people come to therapy in our clinic because they might say, well, I think I like have these symptoms of depression because I remember learning about it in like health class or something. And I remember them saying like, if this is happening, like therapy or whatever. And they're like, I don't know. I haven't told anyone about this. Like but like, isn't that what you're supposed to do is like go to therapy.
Right.
And so there's a lot that will get people in the door, even if they still do engage in that like stigma of like, I'm weak for doing this, which I think that is a myth. Like it actually takes a lot of strength to even sit with your emotions and or to talk about them and to admit like we're not okay.
You know, that's kind of funny. Someone texted me and said, thank you for being so open and stuff like that. And she said, oh, I just realized though that you're just a big softie. That was a hit to my ego a little bit. Well, yeah, because I pride myself on being resilient and strong for the people around me.
But you can be resilient and strong, and
that's
also
what I told her. I was like, I was like, throughout my years, hopefully I'm being wiser, but I understand strength and resilient doesn't necessarily mean hardened.
Right.
Yeah. Yes. And I feel like the strongest, or we're able to be like as strong as possible when we can remain grounded or get ourselves grounded if we become dysregulated. And if we know how to be able to soothe our nervous system. So that takes a lot of resilience. It takes a lot of knowledge, but also experience getting yourself there. And when we can do those things, when our nervous system can be regulated, the sky is the limit. Like then you can be the badass, then you can be strong, you know, because you can be like as solid as a rock by being and knowing that it's okay to be vulnerable because you're remaining grounded. So again, it's like there's stigmas out there and myths that if someone's able to talk about their emotions, then they're a softie.
But it's just like you are comfortable being vulnerable because you are working through those issues. You're processing those things. I mean, I know just a few minutes ago, you kind of laughed about like being kind of pushed to therapy and laughing because I know Des suggested it.
I mean, I did therapy without her telling me that I need to when I was going through my suicidal era and a little bit before when I was going through my divorce and stuff like that. But going through those times, I didn't really want to, in a sense, because of the PRP stigma of me going off PRP. And also I felt like I was letting my airmen down.
Right.
Because I wasn't being the leader and the strong leader that I needed to be.
And I guess I disagree.
Ignorance,
I was just I didn't want to put it as such a hard word because I think I always use the word ignorant because I don't think it's like a bad word, to be honest. It just means you don't know. But yeah, I think that's the big thing. Like it shows that you're a better leader because you're showing people how to like help themselves, and that now they can come to you because you're leading by example. You can't tell your airmen, get help, come to me when you need help if you're not doing the same thing. And so I think, you're walking the talk at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And that's like my favorite leadership quote is walk the talk. I have it written on a piece of paper in my office because it's easy to forget. It's easy to, do as I say, not as I do type of thing. But I think it's easy to know that you need therapy when you're feeling suicidal, or it's easy to recognize that you need therapy.
I knew it, but I didn't seek it at that point in time.
Right. And then it's easy to know, oh, I'm going through a life change. I'm going through divorce. I'm about to get married. I'm about to do this. Like we always are told like, oh, go to counseling when you're getting married or go to the church,
or going through a big adjustment.
Yeah. You've got all these different life changes, but when you are just at home and you're feeling shitty and you don't know why, and you're like, I should be feeling happy, but I'm not feeling good. I don't know. And I don't need therapy. It's fine. I'll feel better tomorrow. I'll go play some pickleball and I'll be fine. And it's like, no, that's actually when you probably need to go to therapy, because to me, it's like a maintenance thing, I guess. I don't know. Like, I think it just, if you go to therapy now, it's giving me the tools to help me get through the bad times. And if I stop going to therapy now, when I go through the bad times, I'm going to forget all the things I learned and all the tools. And so for me, I've been going for 15 years, probably. I think maybe even longer at this point. I always say 15 years because I think it's been longer. And, I think if I was to stop now and I go through this next big thing, I'm like, oh, shoot, now I got to go back and I got to figure all these things out and I got to work through. So I don't know. I think, but it's easy to say, oh, I'm feeling like garbage. I need to go to therapy now. But it's harder to recognize. So kudos to you for going now when you're not actually feeling suicidal and you're not actually going through a divorce. And I know you had like military transition out of the military, so you had some life changes that maybe have you feeling in a funk, but I don't know.
But then I also kind of play devil's advocate just on a personal level. All the shit that I went through as a kid, it was a lot. And we'll probably get into it next episode because I feel I probably should share. And then my shitty marriage and divorce. And then the suicide thoughts. I made it through all that with really no counseling. So my question do I need counseling?
This would be my question to you.
You know the answer to that, Rob.
Well, and maybe you were keeping your shit together by shoving some stuff under the rug.
Oh, the black void.
100%. Which is like can be very effective for people, but like you can only do that for so long
until you become
stuff
suicidal.
Starts like seeping through the cracks. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, and even another thing I was thinking as you guys were just talking, I also do like human performance optimization consulting and coaching.
Okay.
So basically you're a badass. How do you become even more badass? So like people that are high performers, how can you tweak a couple things to perform even better? And so in that like high performance world, it is a well-known fact for high performers that they want to do anything they can possibly do to increase their performance even by 0.5. And so learning to, yes, they can compartmentalize emotions extremely well, but there's a difference between like compartmentalizing and then throwing the compartment like down in the ocean and never opening it again versus learning how to move stuff to the side and then later coming back and like opening it up and like dealing with it. And so like you had to function as a kid with your parents when things were very chaotic, like during your career and like having a wife and like having kids and like all of the stressors of all of that. Like you had to perform in a certain way that it was just easier to like shove it all away, but you can only do that for so long. And so even in like Fortune 500 companies, so like huge companies that are like extremely successful, like in revenue and everything like that, I don't know if all of them, I don't know the stats on it, but they have like wellness programs and a lot of them have on-site therapists or psychologists because it's like the company culture of like, get your shit figured out so you can perform at work, and they make sure everybody, like Google's famous for this, like having outdoor time where they have to go outside and get their sunshine in their eyes. And there's like games, they're encouraging people to take breaks and stuff like that. So these high performing companies and these high performing people have figured it out that they can perform better if they are processing emotion and difficulties and trauma in a healthy way, which sometimes can mean therapy. It doesn't always mean therapy for everyone, but it can mean that. And then it's like practicing what you preach and walk the talk. And so from like the top down, and even in the military, I mean, coming from like a PRP unit, you were not going to see this, but I mean, there's other units at Hill Air Force Base that had leadership. So either like officers or senior NCOs, and that were like putting on the shared calendar therapy, because they want people to know, they want their downline to know, they want their supervisees to know, like, if you're having a problem, like, let me help you go figure it out, or like, which sometimes that means therapy. It doesn't always mean that. But then if they're making it known to their whole unit that they're going to therapy, sure, some people are going to judge that. But a lot of people, the people that are struggling, are going to be like, oh, if he can do it, I can do it. Yeah. So
I put it on my work calendar, and the lead engineer, he messaged me. He's like, do you really need to go to therapy once a week? And I'm like, yeah.
I have to deal with you engineer.
Yep, that's exactly what I said. I was like, yeah, it's the only way I get released from working with engineers.
That's so funny. Okay, I don't know where we're at with time, but
hour and a half.
Okay, so I think we're probably doing okay. But I do want to ask, because we've talked about mental resets a lot on the podcast. So how do you define a mental reset? What are some ways that you feel like either athletes, I know you talked about high performers, or just everyday people that are not high performers, wanting to be high performers, whatever, just us everyday folk, how can they practice like a mental reset either during, their stressful environment, or maybe afterwards or before, like, what kind of tips do you have for that?
Well, everything we've been talking about, the benefits of pickleball, that is a reset.
Oh, did you hear that?
It is like the perfect medicine, the perfect reset, because it can give your nervous system like a break to kind of relax.
Okay.
The default mode network is offline. And so it's giving you like all of those healthy chemicals,
right?
Feel good chemicals. So like pickleball in and of itself is a reset.
That is going to be our podcast name. Pickleball is medicine. Are you writing it down?
Just like sourdough, sourdough is a reset.
Yeah.
People that love like the crafts where there's that rhythmic,
like knitting, diamond art.
Yeah, but
I do like diamond art.
It's sounding like you need to dedicate at least 30 minutes to an hour for a reset. So is there anything that's more short?
So people can think that, but actually, and that's great if you have 30 minutes or more. Like, that's awesome.
You don't
but
always...
also, what I try to help people, and we talked about perfectionism before we started recording.
Yeah.
But a lot of times people are thinking, well, I'm not going to get out my diamond art unless I have like 2 hours to work on it.
Right.
Yeah. And then I'll get pissed. I want to do this for stress management. I'll just get pissed off if it's not perfect. So I talk to people about like, okay, sometimes you're going to do your activity because you want to be like a badass at it, and you're going to be focusing on goals. But sometimes you're going to do the activity and the whole point is for a reset, or to like bring your nervous system into regulation, or to like unload some of that stress, or to get your default mode offline. So you can do that stuff in 5 minutes. You can do that. I mean, and the more you practice it, the quicker you'll be able to get yourself into regulation.
Okay.
So it'll be a more effective reset in like 30 seconds. So you just it's practice. But I mean, breath is the most effective way.
I was just going to ask you, because I'm like, I feel like you and I have had a lot of conversations on breath work, which is why I think I've talked about on the podcast is doing like the box breath. And that's what I tend to do. And I got that from you.
Do you do that when you play pickleball?
I do. If I take a timeout because I am frustrated, frustrated either with myself or with the opponent, I have to sit there, and you'll see me like do this like, or I'll like be like, I got to get it out. And it's like reminding myself to do a deep breath. But I'll do the box breath on a timeout. Or at work, I've had to do that when I'm feeling like very dysregulated. I will. And usually like I do this weird thing. I don't have to go way into it, but like I'll push myself away from my desk, and I'm like in my chair, and I like put my head down, and I'll do box breaths that way. I don't know if it just like has me like in my own little square. Yeah.
Well, and we all know Destiny doesn't like nature very much. But speaking of the book that you brought up in the last episode, grounding in nature is an incredibly effective and quick reset for the body and to help the body come into regulation. We know there's energetic like vibration in the earth that actually can help change like the frequencies in your body, and like physics.
Grounding in nature means you need to have your bare feet in the bare ground. Ew.
So it can, so
Gross.
I mean, I've got a dog, and I'll take my dog out. Right now I live in a condo, so I don't have like a private backyard, so I actually have to go out with him.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm not I'm like definitely not perfect with this in the winter, but I do it occasionally in the winter where I still go outside in like the snow and the ice without my shoes on, and only for like a short time, but getting that grounding. But regularly, like I love sleeping with socks on, but like in the morning I'll take so half of the year with
You
the
sleep
weather
with socks on?
Yeah.
Psychopath.
Yep. But I'll take my socks off and I will go out and walk around with my dog so then I'm getting at least like 5 minutes in the morning of like the sunshine in my eyes and like the grounding in nature. So that's a really good one. And then
I sleep with socks on too, I should say. I only said that because I start and then halfway through the night they come off. But yeah, sorry. I didn't mean to like, you psychopath is because in my head I was like, I'm also a psychopath.
There is like,
that's why we're friends.
There is a divide with that. Some people think sleeping with socks on is like super weird.
I know.
And other people love it. So
yeah,
it's like the cilantro thing.
I don't love it, but I hate being cold. So my feet are cold. And now I have nobody in bed to put my cold feet on. So I have to have socks on.
Having somebody, this is another really good regulator for the nervous system, or like a reset, is co-regulation. So
I don't want to talk
this
about
can
that.
happen. It's only going to work with someone that you feel safe with, like physically, emotionally. So it can often be like a romantic partner, but even just to like embrace, because then your heartbeats can like sync, it can lower blood pressure. So co-regulation is extremely effective. Like it can be like a parent and a child, or it could be like a friend or whatever. And so co-regulation is very
I've tried it with Stevie and he like squirms away. He does not like it.
But I was going to talk
It's because that was so funny.
No, I was going to talk about something else, but this is going to be like a whole
like the mental resets. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be like a cognitive reset of like shifting perspective and like reframing things.
Yeah, we talked about reframing a little, which is it's hard. It's hard
really
to do when you're feeling down. It's hard because I'll start to reframe, and I'm like with the whole government stuff right now, for instance, it's really easy to be like, oh my gosh, am I going to have my job?
Right.
And so then I have to reframe, and I'm like, I'm going to be fine. If I lose my job, this is where like this could take me. And, or just even, I don't know. It's always like, for me, I always wonder, I'm like, is it mind over matter? And I try to say that. I'm like, like they joke about like, oh, I'm feeling depressed. Well, stop.
Yeah.
Stop that.
Just stop it.
Just stop being like, just don't.
Yeah.
What did I send something to somebody? I don't. Probably both of you guys actually. That was like, I'm feeling depressed, and your answer is, well, don't do that.
Stop it. Yeah.
Stop it. I don't know. So the reframing. Do you have like a tip?
Well,
I know you said you didn't want to get deep down into it, but
you guys are in more of like the competitive pickleball, and I mean, you might say maybe you're not that good, but like you guys are good. You're not beginners, right? So there's a lot of people that might sign up for tournaments and stuff, and they're like totally beginners. So this can apply to like beginners or people that are more like getting more and more advanced. But oftentimes we think of things about like winning or losing. So even you were talking earlier about like the high of the week is like you were kind of ranked like number one in your league this week or whatever. But so that there's nothing wrong with that, with wanting to be the winner. That's okay. But if you can set goals for like what specifically do you want to work on, or my intention today is, and I don't know the pickleball lingo, but like my intention today is to work on dinking or something like that. And so then when you're leaving your practice or you're leaving your tournament or whatever it is, your game, to focus more on like the details of what you did well on. And instead of focusing on like, I was shitty
winning versus
with this,
losing,
like I was so shitty, like thinking like, okay, what do I notice about that? And then what can I learn from that? So it's more like takeaways of like, what are your intentions going to be? And what are your takeaways? Like the lessons learned. And it's great if you win, but it's okay
if you lose.
Yeah. And because you can, it's all about reframing. And again, going back to the high performers, do they want to be number one? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But they, like a lot of the professional athletes will talk about having like certain goals for like, just my goal is to do 10 hours of practice just on like dribbling, like alone on the basketball court. Like that's all I'm going to do for 10 hours this week. And then the rest of my training is going to be other stuff. But like, so you can be that same way and really focus on the minutia, I guess, or like all I care about today is I don't even care about my technique or my form or if I win or lose, but I'm going to focus on my negative thoughts and like being aware of when negative thoughts happen and like how do I respond to myself. So there's a lot of ways to reframe and to try to be more.
I've actually, I guess
helpful.
I have a little story about that. So I mean, you guys know this and you knew me when I was heavier. You didn't, but I've lost like 80-ish pounds, 80 plus or minus a couple. And I used to have a lot of self-deprecating humor. I thought it was funny. I was killing it, guys. But it's not funny. It's not funny because like my sister would point out, like nobody would probably even notice how big your ass is if you didn't constantly fucking talk about it. And I was like, oh yeah. So, but it's interesting because I'd make a joke. People are like, oh, do you run? And I'm like, I run to the refrigerator for more food. I don't, you know what I mean? Like just silly, stupid things. Or the last marathon I did was a Law and Order marathon. Like just like crappy things because I was like working out hard and I was always dieting and I did struggle with eating disorders. And so in a way to kind of like redirect away from that, I would like make jokes about it, but I stopped. And so I read that book, The How to Be Your Own Best Friend, and I stopped saying those things. And I would know, like, I haven't 100% stopped. I still make fun of myself quite a bit, but not about like the way I look or my, you know, like my appearance, because I noticed like that was just drawing more attention to it, but I was then more hyper focused on it and it really doesn't matter.
Well, and that can affect like connection and relationships.
Right.
Like that can push people away.
Yeah. Well, I'm not being authentic either. Yeah. And I you know, somebody actually once said this to me. They're like, I didn't really know how to take you because like I didn't know, like you don't seem like very warm, which blew me away because I don't get that a lot. But it is because I'm just constantly like firing off sarcasm and jokes. And so I get where in this situation, that person didn't feel like they could be close to me, but I don't get that a lot because I think in most cases I do a good job at like connecting with people. Yeah. But I can also see how stuff like that would push people away that are like, wait a second, I don't really know how to read her because she's either sarcastic bitch or like
putting herself down.
Yeah. And so it's like, okay, how do I connect with her? And so, and she doesn't seem very authentic. And so, yes, I thought I was doing a good job at that, but it just didn't come across that way. And so it's really interesting to get feedback like that. And I'm really close with that person now, but I mean, that was her takeaway. And I was like blown away and hurt because I was like, wait, how many other people have I just thought I was, anyways, whatever. So I think, I did a good job in like recognizing, like when you were saying, like recognizing when I was going to say something like that and like, okay, don't say that. Okay, don't. And it actually helped me. The less I did say those things, the the less I started feeling those negative thoughts about myself. And so it goes back to like that positive affirmation too. Like I am beautiful. I am smart. What is it off of The Help or whatever? You is smart. You is pretty or whatever. Yeah. Whatever.
Saturday Night Live had something you would look in the mirror and be like,
I'm strong enough and gosh darn it,
people like me.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think that those go a long way. Yeah. And I think a lot of people think it's silly to like look in the mirror and say those things to yourself, but really they go a long way and they're really helpful. Yeah. So doing that while you're playing pickleball, it's so easy. I play with someone, I'm not going to say his name because I didn't get his permission to, but he is so mean to himself. And he knows, if I know he listens and I know he's going to listen to this and he needs to know, I'm going to say it again, is stop being mean to yourself. Like he'll say things like that. Like that's one of actually a best friend of mine. I've seen her send her kid to his room because he said he was like, I'm such a bad brother. And she's like, to your room. And she's like, we don't say mean things even to ourselves.
Yeah.
And so it was like, oh, actually, like she's teaching him, like, you don't even like say bad things about yourself to yourself. And so I was like, wow, that's such like a good lesson. I mean, he was like 4 at the time.
Yeah.
Because he was being a little shit to his sister. And it was like, no, do your room. You don't say things like that about yourself.
And the thing I wanted to say, but I knew it would take too long, but now you're describing this perfectly. It's the concept of self-compassion. So people think about self-compassion is going to make you weak or something like that, or you're just going to be letting yourself off the hook and become like lazy or whatever, but that's actually not the case.
Yeah.
You will be more effective. You will improve your performance if you're able to respond to yourself with compassion, not self-criticism.
Yes.
So like whoever that person is, like your partner, and like maybe he is saying, like, give me an example of like something that
oh my gosh,
of like that's self-critical.
Like just he would hit a bad shot. That's such a bad shot. I can't believe I would do that. So fucking
like,
stupid.
Instead
like
of like this was such a bad shot, to say like, okay,
the next shot.
Everybody has bad shots. I'm a human being, and I'm not gonna like make all the shots that I'm like. But then to say something like, and I know I can keep working on this. And get to the point of blah, 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 blah. So like, instead of saying like, I can't, or I won't, or I shouldn't, like more invitational language, like I can be more of this, or I can work on this, or I can start to believe this more and more and more, something like that.
Yeah.
It gets
kind of replace.
Right. Because if people are just doing the affirmations in the mirror of like, I'm beautiful, they might be like, that's fucking bullshit. Like, I'm not beautiful. You know,
you're looking in a mirror. Okay.
But if it's like,
I have eyes.
But if it's like,
I can see your sarcasm.
but if you can look in the mirror and say like, I can learn to love myself more and more each day. I can. So you're inviting yourself to believe it. It gets your subconscious mind like on board better. So that's why it's like so important to think about, you can think about the things you didn't do well that day with playing, but then like reframe it, or like, okay, I can work on this, or I am going to screw that up like 50% of the time, you know?
Right.
And like the Wayne Gretzky quote of like, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Right.
So like you have to engage in pickleball, and you are going to mess up like a lot of the time. You can't expect yourself to have like 100% like amazing shots.
Or you wouldn't be playing at the kitchen in Roy with Destiny.
Yeah. So like how you talk to yourself is so powerful, and like the intentions that you set are so powerful.
How you talk to yourself is so powerful. That's that
what I
whole
need to work
point
on.
of that book. Yes, everybody needs to, and including myself. Like I know I'm really proud of myself for how far I've come with that, because I used to be so mean to myself. I couldn't even look in a mirror, you guys. Like, I think I talked about, I did 75 hard, and part of that, one of those things you have to do every day is take a picture, and I couldn't.
Yeah.
It was the hardest thing for me to do, and I would just hide them.
Yeah, and like as friends over the years, we'll take pictures together, but like you would get upset like if we like posted a picture or something, like you just didn't want pictures.
No, and now I post a picture every day.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful.
But also it's like, you are beautiful then, and you're beautiful now. You know what I mean? So it's like, how are you going to like take care of yourself and respond to yourself in a kind way? Yeah. And so,
and I'll be honest, I post a lot more now because I think I am feeling good about myself, but I also, it is an exercise for myself, because I even like, I had a picture on my Facebook that I hated. It's a cute picture, but there's just a piece of it that I hone in on, and I hate it. And my goal was to leave that up for at least 6 months. And I did for almost 10. So, and I was really proud of myself, but I mean, if anybody else looked at it, they'd be like, oh my gosh, what are you talking about? But I just hone in on fucking one little thing. So I've gotten better. I used to be really, really bad. Yeah. And there's even things like, it's funny because like stuff will come up on your social media, like the memories. And I'm like, I can't post that. I can't post that. And I should just repost it. Like the other day, something came up and I was like, why did I let my hair grow out and I have gray fucking hair in that picture? And it was like from 10 years ago. And I get my hair dyed regularly. So I was like, what the hell happened here? And I went to a whole ass wedding with gray hair. What am I doing?
But this is a very good
and
example.
We posted a picture
of how you set a goal to talk nicer to yourself. And you're doing way better with it now than you used to, and you still have some work to do. So it's like, it's progress. Yeah. Like we're all works in progress.
Right.
Yeah.
And we can't be like we can't be perfect at everything, Destiny.
I know.
So
I know my issue is I don't take congratulations, or I don't acknowledge my wins,
Successes.
my successes, as I should.
That's
right?
why I like
Even
that
in
we do the
military.
highs and lows, though.
Yeah,
That's the whole point of it, Rob.
But then I forget about it.
That is something that can help improve your mental health, is just by working on that. Like, just like there's a lot about doing gratitude practices. Destiny's really good at that.
I am,
like,
actually.
She even bought me a gratitude journal for Christmas like a few years ago.
I get those a lot.
So like the research, like so many research studies like point out the benefits of having a gratitude practice and like focusing on gratitude every day. And the ability to recognize and accept compliments is also like correlated with more positive mental health.
I recognize them, but then I find an excuse to, or a reason to diminish it.
Okay.
Actually, yeah. Sorry, I was just actually going to say this because I have an employee. Well, she's not my employee anymore, but she actually wrote me this week. I had sent her something on Instagram, and she was like, "Oh, this reminds me of when you talked to the team." So I had done like a team meeting, and I brought up the accepting compliments because it is so hard, and women specifically or especially I think struggle with this. So I walk in, I'm like I compliment, "Oh, what a nice shirt," and a woman's like, "Oh, I got this for $5 at the like, why do I need to know that?
Yeah.
Why can't you just say thank you?" Or it's like, "Oh, I really like this. Oh, I don't know, this is too tight. This is like," you just like you pick it apart instead of saying thank you. And so how awkward is it for the person giving you the compliment when you say, "Oh, I don't know, are you sure?" Like, how awkward. And so, and I noticed that about myself is every single time somebody gave me a compliment, I would like say something negative about myself back instead of thank you. And that's all you need to do is just say thank you. And then in your head, you can think whatever you want. But the more you say thank you and accept that compliment, the more you are going to be accepting the compliment subconsciously. It has
reprograms your brain.
Fucking worked, you guys. Like I am living and breathing, saying this right now is even like now I'm better at saying thank you so much. I've actually been working really hard at that. Like through my weight loss, and you know, some of that was not because I was working hard. It was getting my hormones balanced was helpful. Going through a shitty divorce was helpful because you don't eat. But I tried to monopolize on that, and I started working hard, and I did 75 hard. And so when people would compliment like, "Oh my gosh, your arms look so buff today," and I'm like, "Thank you. I did bicep curls today actually." And it was really hard, and I had no time, and yet I still did it. And so I'm like complimenting myself at the same time, I would notice, and giving myself the credit too. Or, "Hey, that outfit looks really cute. Thank you. I've actually been trying to work on my new style," or whatever. Like, so just like I would almost even if I didn't say it out loud in my head, I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's so nice." Or I would say that, "Thank you so much. I've actually been working really hard at that." Or "Thank you." And that's it. That's all. Yeah. I mean, I had a guy at Target it was like 2 months ago. He was like, "Hey," and I was on the phone with my dad. And he's like, "Hey, I'm sorry. I just want to like tell you, like, you have really good energy." And I was like, "Oh, thank you so much." Like I took my headphone out and I was like, "Thank you." Like that is so nice of you to stop and tell me that, because I think like that is way nicer than being like, "What are you talking about?" Or like I don't want to compliment somebody if they're like, "Oh, I don't know. Are you sure?" Yeah. I don't know. So it just like, it makes a big difference, but I've started like believing it. Oh, you guys, I'm sorry. I have to share this. Guess what happened at the gas station today? I'm sorry, but I went to the Maverick today and I'm checking out, and there was a really good looking. There was got me all flustered.
Why do you always meet guys at like the gas station?
I don't know. I didn't meet this guy though. I saw him. He saw me. It's very apparent that we liked what each other saw. Yeah, we liked what each other saw. But he checked out, and then I'm checking out, and he's like lingering at the counter, right? But the guy that works at Maverick goes, "Do you work out a lot with your husband?"
And then what did he say?
And I said, "Oh, no." And then the guy next to me laughed and then walked out. And I was like,
"You should have said,
what just happened?" I just said, because this is what happens. I always think like, "Oh, I'm just like so chatty Cathy." But the second that there's an opportunity, I just shut down.
You're like, "Actually, I do work out a lot, and I don't have a husband or a boyfriend. And I'm on the prowl."
Yeah, I'm not on the prowl. Let's not put that out there. Maybe a little on the prowl. Yeah, no, I was like, that's so funny. But even this guy over here, the good looking guy, just like he thought it was funny and he walks out. And I don't know if he was even available. Otherwise, I feel like he maybe would have engaged a little bit more. But then the guy was like, well, yeah, like you look really good. And I was like, thank you. Like it was just like really nice. Yeah. And just like this young kid. Yeah. And it was a really nice compliment. And I was like, thank you. And then I walked and I just giggled and I was like, God damn it, you ruined it. I ruined it. I was talking to myself.
That was perfect.
Anyways.
Maybe I need less
that was another
resting
high for me.
asshole face.
Oh.
People, Missily Meyerman, they were always saying that I have resting asshole face.
Resting asshole face.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why that guy didn't. I did read something that said like if you want to be approached in a bar or like a setting, like you need to make eye contact. And this guy was really tall, and so it was really hard for me to make eye contact because my neck would have hurt, right? But I'm like, hello. I did peek a little, like I can't do all the work. You're the man.
Yeah.
Anyways, so that was my other high I forgot to mention earlier.
Oh, that is a lovely high.
Anyways. Okay. Well, I also said thank you, but anyways.
We're going on 2 hours.
Yeah. Wow. That was fast.
Yeah.
Tammy, is there anything that you feel like maybe you wanted to circle back on that you kind of wanted to mention? Or, I mean, this has been great. You've been so informative and helpful. And I feel like the way you address things and explain things is helpful because it's not like very
for the compliment.
Okay. I feel like
but I think what I would say is obviously this podcast is like directed toward those that are already playing pickleball, maybe. But like you can use any of the principles that we're talking about here in like any form of activity or exercise, or even just setting like a little goal.
Right.
And you had asked a question earlier, Rob, about like, oh, it sounds like you need to engage in that for like at least 30 minutes or something.
Yes.
And whatever it was that we were
like
talking
a mental
about.
reset or like meditation.
But yeah, even, I mean, there is literature specifically on like the benefits of mindfulness or meditation. And it's actually more effective to do small little blips of practice than it is to do like an hour-long meditation a day. So like when you're washing your dishes, to like mindfully wash your dishes, or like as you're
I've
like,
actually
getting
practiced.
dressed.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've practiced this. There's like little meditations on YouTube that you can Google, and it's like walking meditation. So it will tell you to like make sure you're feeling the ground under you as you like put your heel to your toe, like, and it like feel like look around, like it depends. Like usually I'm doing the treadmill one. So there's those, but, and then Beach Body, actually, I think that's what it's still called. Their whole dynamic's different, but they have a 10-minute a day meditation. That's a guided meditation for 21 days. And so I've done that several times.
Okay.
That's helpful, but you can find free 10-minute meditations on YouTube.
And then when you know what mindfulness is, you can like start practicing it on your own.
It's hard.
I think like people oftentimes, and especially when you're struggling with depression or anxiety, it's like everything feels so overwhelming. But the stuff we're talking about here, you can practice like teeny little bits, or just like work on your goals of like, what could I do different? That's like just like 1% different a day.
Accept compliments. That's going to be your guys' task this week. Rob, do not fucking roll your eyes. You're going to accept compliments.
I'll push that off to my 2026.
You're going to do it this week. It's your homework.
Well, and what I would say, if we're giving Rob homework, like write it down.
Yes.
Because you said you can recognize them.
I'm not writing it down. I've had so many people be, you need to journal. Like, no.
That's not
good.
Bullets. Like think
you don't even have to do it as a journal.
I hate writing bullets.
Well,
I did that 21,
oh my goodness,
well, not 21 years ago.
You are a naysayer.
So nobody do what
Nancy.
Rob's doing. Not complimenting him at all this week. Nobody give him one compliment. No, I think just internalize it then.
Yeah.
Okay, you know what? I just got a compliment.
Or just, I noticed.
And recognize like how you responded to it. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all.
No, I can do that.
You don't even need to write it down.
Yeah.
I'll be cognizant of whatever.
Yeah.
Of trying to remind myself.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's where it starts, right?
Yeah.
like, honestly.
Yeah, just recognizing it.
Right.
Yeah. I like it. I don't even have any homework.
You're already perfect.
My homework is actually going to be doing more for our podcast. I'm making that promise to Rob right now since I'm furloughed. Anyways, thanks again, Emily.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.
You're welcome. This was
yeah.
fun. Thanks
We'll
for
have to have
having
you
me.
back on again if you're interested.
I would love it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
All
for
right.
sure. I'd
yeah.
like that.
I would love it. Okay.
We're not done, though, because
yes.
we got to read some comments that people sent
yes.
to us.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do you want to read the one from Instagram?
Yeah. Let's have you read and talk about the text that you received. And
Okay.
I'll pull that up.
So I'm not going to name names, so this will stay anonymous. Or, yeah, blah, 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 blah.
Anonymous.
There you go.
Words. They're hard.
Yeah, so I got this text, and it says, I just wanted to thank you for your vulnerability on today's podcast, which was the last one. It says, it takes real courage to share such personal experiences, and it meant a lot to hear your story. I related deeply. My mom was addicted to drugs when I was growing up. My dad wasn't, but he enabled her behavior so much that it still created an unsafe, chaotic home environment as I spent my entire adult life healing from that. And she went on to about a lot of stuff. But I just want to say thanks for saying that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like I said in my last episode, my parents were addicted to cocaine and they were alcoholics. I don't fault them for that. You know, they were just doing the best they could. Could they have done better? Of course, we all could.
Yeah.
But I have a really good relationship with my mom and dad, and it's my stepdad. He's been in my life since I've been like 2. So yeah, but it was definitely extremely hard growing up, and I'll go into that next episode. So yeah, so that's I just want to say thanks for sharing that. That's really sweet, heartwarming too. You know, it's like because she doesn't feel alone, right?
Right.
Because
that's the whole
with those experiences that we might feel alone, like no one's experienced what I went through, but in reality, a lot of people experience those sort of things.
Yeah.
Maybe not to the detail that we did, but you know.
Well, and you can't have that opportunity for like connection and shared experience unless you're vulnerable enough to like talk about it.
Right.
And unless she's vulnerable enough to like tell you, hey, like,
Reciprocate
thank
it.
you. And like, I had the same, and then you can have a really cool experience with that connection that you never would have had.
Correct.
So that's really cool.
Yeah.
And I'm sure my parents were like, not thrilled that I talk about that because they probably don't want people to know.
No.
But
it's okay.
too bad.
Yeah.
Well, and it's, you're allowed to talk about your experience.
Yep.
And that's your story to share. And I have another employee who's actually writing a book on her marriage, and then obviously she winds up talking about her parents and things. And her mom was so upset reading the book, and she was like, "But that's my story to tell." And so she's like, "Yeah, but you're just putting all the stuff out there about us." And she's like, "But it's my story to tell." So it was like a weird thing.
That's good.
So
yeah, I would never even have probably put that in perspective. But yeah, you're right. It's my story.
Yeah.
right.
I'm allowed to share that.
Yeah. And your parents, like you said, like they were doing the best that they could, just like all of our parents, just like we are. And we make mistakes, and that's how we grow, and that's how we learn. And luckily, like you have a great relationship with them now, and you were able to forgive and move on for how things happened. And so that's
And
great.
what I always say is I forgave them, but I'll never forget.
Well, yeah, because it built you into the person you are today too.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, just as I kind of mentioned about feeling like I was kind of pushed to pickleball because I was lonely in my marriage, and he kind of encouraged me to find something away from him. We'll put it that way.
Yeah.
I guess I can be thankful for him for that. And so, there's things that probably like were not great experiences, but you can be thankful that they built you into the person that you are today.
And recognizing the positive things that come out of bad situations is just one way of, I would assume, working through it.
Right. Or reframing a little, maybe. Yeah. Okay. And then we have a follower that wrote us just because Rob's done a really good job with our social media and reminding our listeners, don't roll your eyes again.
Thank you.
Yes. See, you've done a great job. I've really slacked in helping. So I appreciate you. But he is just a reminder. We're happy to share these stories. We love it. I think it's a way for us to give back to, I think this podcast is a way for us to give back to the community that's given a lot to us, right?
It really has.
And I know.
It's reciprocal.
Right. Yeah. And so in sharing these stories and sharing other people's stories, hopefully it's continuing to do that. So we had another follower that responded to one of our stories that just said that they had been struggling with substance abuse and mental health for about 2 years. And after getting sober, playing pickleball and sports in general with their family and friends was a beautiful way to get away from all of that. So it just proved that they can have fun without substances.
Yeah.
And so then they kind of went more into detail, and forgive me, I haven't read a lot of this. So this will be my first time. So I apologize if I do get emotional, because that's typically what happens. So just said about 2 years ago, I was working as a software developer and started to feel lost, like I was missing my purpose in life. Around that time, I reconnected with an old friend from high school who had access to prescription medications. Using became my way of coping with those feelings. But before long, it started to consume my time and damage the relationships and opportunities I cared most about. Eventually, I decided to get clean. I started to make amends with the people who supported me, even after everything I'd put them through, and started rebuilding what I had broke. One of the biggest things that helped me was getting back into sports, especially pickleball. I grew up playing sports, and once I got clean, I remembered how much I love competing and being active. It's a fundamental part of who I am. Playing again reminded me that there's peace in competition. It forces you to focus on the moment. It's kind of that meditation that you talked about, or mindfulness. It says, nowadays I'm often playing at the Kitchen in Roy or Kaysville. My friends and I are night owls, so we normally end up getting the place to ourselves late at night. Some of my favorite moments have been on those nights. It helps keep me sane and grateful for where I'm at and where I'm at now. It doesn't matter to me if it's anonymous or not, but yeah, we'll keep it anonymous. Yeah. I think that's, his story to share, but thank you for sharing with us so that we can share with others. Because I personally know people I play with that have had those same struggles, and really probably appreciate that there's a community that they have found, and being able to support each other and staying sober. So I think that's great. So thank you so much for sharing and letting us share.
Yeah, thank you. And keep them coming, really.
Yeah, honestly, because I know of at least a handful of other people in that same situation, actually. So
sharing your stories just connects us even on a deeper level beyond pickleball. So yeah, you're not alone.
Yeah. Perfect. Well, thank you guys. Thanks, Emily.
Yeah, thank you for coming.
You.
This is awesome.
Yeah,
Looking forward to the next one for sure.
All right. Okay. Thanks, guys.
Yeah,
Talk
thanks.
to you later.
Bye.